So you're thinking about moving to Nashville, Tennessee, and you want to know 15 reasons why you wouldn't want to move there? Well, I'm going to tell you about all those reasons and more, and I'm getting after it right now. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Greg Spackman. I'm with the Living Nashville, Tennessee channel here. And if you want to learn everything about what it's like to live here, eat here, sleep here, and play here, well, and 15 reasons why you may not want to move to Nashville, then click the little subscribe button and click the little bell to be notified every time I do a new video. I've been getting a ton of people just like you that are wanting to move here to the Nashville area, and I absolutely love it. So give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I've got your back if you're moving here to Nashville, Tennessee. Number one is the housing costs. So if you've been checking out online, looking at homes on whatever website you're using, you're going to see that the home prices here have just exploded over the past couple of years. They may have done that where you are, so it just depends where you're moving from if Nashville will be affordable. So here is a good chart that you can look at just to show you what home prices are at currently. So you can see right now, currently, we have somewhere around 8,300-ish homes for sale. There's 2,700 that are pending, which means people are buying homes right now in Nashville. The median price is right around $450,000. You can see that we are down compared to 2022 as far as the number of closings. But overall, the market is really good and strong. And if you're wanting to buy a home, now is a fantastic time to buy. So it just depends on where you want to live in and around Nashville, whether you want to live in Nashville or a city around it. And if you give us a call, I can go over that with you in a Zoom session and pull up the map and give you a good idea about what different areas are, depending upon where you're going to be working, what things you want to be able to do. But that's why I can help you so you don't end up moving to the wrong area. The number two reason is traffic. So traffic here is awful in certain times of day, and I'll show you on the map kind of where the traffic is. So here we have the map open. And we have the 40 loop that wraps around Nashville, and different times of day, this can be awful to travel on. Same thing going up. This is 65 right here. And once it gets to about Old Hickory, it starts to slow down sometimes all the way through Nashville. And it gets really bad right around here, right around Wedgwood. It's typically gets slow, and that's because of this 40 east, 40 west split where 65 kind of technically it ends, but it doesn't end because it keeps going. But it's the 40 west and 40 east, and it'll back up there. If you're over here on the east side, you have 24, and 24 is awful going south or southeast towards Murfreesboro in the afternoon, and then coming into Nashville in the morning going 24 west. It's awful. So just really anywhere around the Nashville area, the traffic can be rough. Now, it isn't going to be the same as, say, if you're used to Los Angeles or Dallas or Houston or Miami traffic. It's not like that traffic where it takes you like hours. It'll extend 15 or 20 minutes on your drive. So you may not think that traffic is a big issue here. However, most times of day after when you get in some of the other areas, you're going to find that the freeway pretty much flows 70 to 80 miles an hour that you're going to be able to do. They do have carpool lanes on some of the freeways, so you're going to be able to use those if you have two or more people in your car. All in all, those are kind of what's the deal with traffic. The number three reason that you might not want to move to Nashville is the weather. So we have all four seasons in Nashville, so we get a real summer. Summer can be hot and it's humid, and it's sometimes you need to take a second shower from just walking from your door to your car or from your office to your car. It gets really muggy and whatnot in the Nashville area, and that's just where we are in the South. So if you're used to humidity, it's definitely not as humid as, say, Florida is, but it's pretty humid when you come from out west where you're used to dry weather. It's humid as all heck. So that, as far as for summer goes, fall is amazing. Usually fall lasts only a couple of weeks, though, it seems. So the leaves do change colors, which is, they can be awesome to look at. And some years they actually don't change. They start to change, and then the wind blows and it blows them all down. So we end up with no leaves to look at. However, when we do, it's amazing to see. And then we have winter, and winter is in the 30s and 40s typically. It does get colder than that. However, most of the time it's in the 30s and 40s. So you can, wherever you're coming from, that'll be an adjustment, or it'll be warm for you. Sometimes does snow in Nashville. However, most of the time you're going to get like a half an inch of snow, just enough where it causes some issues with the roads and the grocery stores, and everybody runs to the grocery store and gets bread and milk. And I have no idea why they do that. However, they do. So if that's something you've heard of, comment below and let me know that you've heard about bread and milk before. They have had they get more ice, I guess, or we get more ice than you would snow. And so that'll cause an issue because of just the rain, and then it gets cold, so it'll freeze and whatnot. The amount of snow has had a few years where they've gotten, multiple inches, and then it's shut things down. I want to say it was around 2015, 2016. They had a big storm that came through, and we had just moved to Nashville a couple years prior from California, so we never dealt with any sort of snow, and we didn't move the cars, and our driveway sloped towards the house instead of from the house, and so we were like iced in. And during that same time period, we had people, or since I play ice hockey, I had friends that skated on the ice. I wish I had done that. I didn't. That would have been a super cool video to have just for the future. But so we didn't do anything. My kids, after like the third day, were tired of being snowed in. Our neighborhood that we lived in did not get plowed, so it was just snow there on the ground. And in Nashville, they don't really have all the equipment to deal with snow like they do in other states that are used to having snow. So it kind of just sat there till it melts off. Well, my kids got tired of being stuck, so they went and took some huge tubs and filled it up with hot water, and then made cracks out so we could back the car out of the driveway. And then we were able to back it out and get out to the grocery store. And they wanted soda and candy and some other stuff, so we ran to the grocery store and did that. And I think the next day everything pretty much melted and everything was back to normal. So typical. That is not typical in Nashville for the weather like that, but it does happen every so many years, 5 to 10 years, there'll be a big snowstorm. It does get a lot of rain, and more rain than Seattle gets in inches. It just comes down all at once or very quickly, so they'll get 4, 5, 6 inches of rain in a day or two, rather than like Seattle gets a half an inch, and it just, kind of just comes every day, and it's dreary. Nashville just gets it a lot of rain at one particular time, but it seems to rain a lot, and certain times a year it'll rain 4, 5, 6 days a year. That does lead to some really cool thunderstorms, so if you're into that sort of thing and the lightning in the sky, it's amazing for some of those shows that you're going to be able to, sit outside and watch, or video or whatever. That's super cool as well. And then springtime, when you're tired of winter, and then the trees have no leaves on it, so it looks all ugly and stuff. Then when spring hits, then the trees get all their buds on it and they bloom, and everything starts to grow. It's awesome, and it just looks great like that. And then that feeds into summer. And one other thing to make note, that if you are a person that likes to take care of your yard, once it hits about mid-October-ish, then you no longer have to mow your yard until April-ish. So that's super cool, that the grass just stops growing, and then it just starts growing again, and then you're mowing it like every week or two, depending upon how much rain it gets. But sometimes it'll be where it gets rain for like a week, and then it's sunshine, and so that just helps the grass just grow. And so you're mowing it almost twice in a week sometimes when it's weird like that. But that's the weather. Number 4 would be, if you plan to take any sort of public transportation, really they have some buses, and that's it. There's no light rail system. There's no any other public transportation except buses to get around, and those aren't even all that great. But just know you're not going to be traveling. You're going to need a car, some other form of transportation that you're going to use to get around, because Nashville hasn't built any sort of real public transportation like other major cities. The number 5 thing is one that bugs my wife the most, and that's the bugs. coming from California, where really we had spiders and maybe ladybugs and pincher bugs or something, but not really any real amount of bugs. Nashville has a ton of bugs. They have silverfish, which hates those. Then they have fire brats. They have earwigs. They have springtails. Mosquitoes can be awful, so make sure that you hire somebody to spray your yard for mosquitoes twice a year. It's definitely worth the money, and it definitely cuts down. There are other things you can use, like some candles and other little like mechanical things that you can buy that keep mosquitoes away. So you definitely can solve the mosquito issue, but there are lots of them, and if you're like my kids, they just get eaten alive by them. They don't seem to bother me like they do them, so I'm not sure what it is with me, but I don't get attacked by mosquitoes like the kids and the wife do. And then the last thing for the bugs is the cicadas, and these make this awful noise, and they were supposed to hatch and be millions of them. I think over the last 3 years, we've said every year they're going to happen, and then they just haven't. So I'm not sure where those are, but the cicadas are supposed to be everywhere, and at some point they're going to come, and there's going to be a ton of them. But that's bugs. So if bugs don't bother you, and they definitely shouldn't be a reason why you don't move there, because you can just have pest control and spray for them, but be aware that they have bugs. Number 7 on the list is crime. And while I can't speak to crime myself, I can talk to different websites that are out there for crime. And Nashville itself has pretty high crime, as I think it's in one of the top 5 cities in the nation or something in growth of crime. And that's probably just because Nashville has become the it city. So more and more people move there, which causes more and more crime to occur. But you can check all that out online, since I'm not really able to talk in specifics about crime, but you should check that out online. Number 8 on the list is the homeless situation, and Nashville has grown quite a bit in the amount of homeless people that are there. I don't understand it because it's cold, so you would think they would want to live somewhere where it's warmer, but they do have a big tent city area that you wouldn't even know existed unless somebody told you about it. And you don't really see that many homeless people in and around Nashville. They are there. Tennessee is the first state in the nation that they passed a law that made it a felony to camp on public ground outside of a designated camping area. So this may curb some of the homeless situation, or have them move to other states that don't have that law so they can camp with their tent wherever they want to camp. But this stops them from sleeping on the streets or bus stops or parks, that sort of thing, in tents. So not sure where your take is on the homeless, but just wanted to make you aware of what I know about the homeless. Number 9 is Nashville has a ton of tourists that come in. Millions and millions of people come to Nashville a year. It's one of the top cities in the nation where brides will go to host their bachelorette party. There's just a ton of them that happen like every weekend, and that's partly just all the things that you can do on Broadway, I think. And Nashville's a really cool city, but they have the NFL Titans are in downtown Nashville, and so there are a ton of people that'll come in for the NFL games. If you're a fan of the other team, then people will travel and watch a game. The same thing with the NHL Nashville Predators hockey. So you got people that come there, and like especially when Chicago and Detroit are in town, then seem like you'll have other people. And since we're only like 4 hours away from St. Louis, you'll have Blues fans that come in. Just a ton of people come as a tourist. So if you're not wanting a lot of tourists, Nashville isn't a great area. However, I don't see this as an issue. It's not like the tourists ruin you going out to eat or you going up to Nashville to have fun. There's just a lot of tourists in Nashville. Number 10 on the list is natural disasters, and this is one that scared us and almost made us myself not want to move there, being that I'd never been anywhere where they had tornadoes. And there are tornadoes that come through. There, a couple years ago, a pretty bad one went through East Nashville and did some serious damage, and then went out east and did some damage. So know that tornadoes could happen. There's some solutions to it. I've had clients that have they've gotten a closet that's made into like a tornado shelter. Other ones have done the portable ones that you can put in the garage. And then I've even had people build one underneath the garage, the floor of the garage. They've had a shelter. So know that you can definitely protect yourself from tornadoes with that sort of thing. On the flip side to tornadoes, I thought it would bother me more than it did, and it doesn't really. You get plenty of warning typically from them. However, the one that hit at Nashville seemed to hit late at night, so there wasn't a ton of warning for people. So just know that tornadoes could be an issue. Now, and they had the great flood of 2010, where it rained, I think, 9 or 10 inches 2 or 3 days in a row, which caused massive flooding. This caused a huge overwork of the map of where you need to have flood insurance on your home. So that's one of the things that I do when I'm helping you look for a home is I will check all that flood zone area out and let you know that this home or this neighborhood is in a flood zone, so that you don't end up having to pay an extra couple $100 to $1,000 a month for flood insurance, where you could have just bought somewhere where it won't flood. And then they supposedly can have wildfires as a disaster. However, I've never seen that, or I don't know when the last wildfire there was, since it rains so much and everything is so green. They do have tropical storms that come up, which produce a lot of wind and rain, but not anything major as far as that goes. They can have earthquakes, but I've never heard of any major earthquake hitting Nashville, but that's possible since it is on some sort of fault. But those are your natural disasters, and pretty much everywhere in the U.S. has some sort of natural disaster, whether it's earthquakes or flooding or hurricanes, whatever, they have something. Number 11 on the list is allergies, and allergies really bothered me when I first moved to Nashville. I had to go to the doctor and get some allergy medicine, and at the time you had to get a Flonase prescription. Now you can just buy it over the counter, so that's awesome. So my combination is just the little blue Claritin pills along with the Flonase. That seems to cause, have me not have any major issues with allergies. It's pretty rough twice a year for me, and that's in the springtime when everything starts to bloom and all the grass is growing, and then the wind blows all that through the air, and then the dust as well. And then the same thing like in the fall when they harvest all the stuff and the wind blows and the dust and other stuff comes. So really I have it 2 times a year. It doesn't seem to be an issue at all in the wintertime. I don't think I take any sort of allergy medicine. And then the same thing in the summer. I don't seem to need it at all then myself. Number 12 on the list is the lack of sidewalks. So this was something that was really interesting and unique, and it kind of bothered me some when I first moved to Nashville. Coming from California, they had sidewalks everywhere. You would drive on any sort of roads for the most part, other than some rare rural roads that wouldn't have any sort of sidewalks, but pretty much everywhere you drove had sidewalks. Well, in Nashville, when we first moved there were lots and lots of streets, lots of neighborhoods that would have no sidewalks at all. You'd just see people walking on the street and think that that's kind of odd. Where's sidewalks? However, if you ask people, they seem to really like that, not having it. And then certain streets, they think that keeps out people from driving, since it doesn't feel, I guess, it's safe with sidewalks or curbs and stuff like that. So just know that there are going to be areas that don't have sidewalks in Nashville. You'll just have to get used to that. Number 13 is the lack of fences. While this was super interesting, it was super cool, I guess, also as well, because when we first moved in Franklin, Tennessee, there were no fences in the neighborhood, I think, at all, or maybe one person had a fence. So the kids, when they go outside in the backyard and play, it was like they had this huge amount of space that they could go play at and run between the different yards. And as more and more people have moved to Tennessee and they put more and more fences, well, we got a dog, and then that kind of made sense why you wanted the fence, because that kept the dog from running all over the neighborhood. So I can see why more and more people want it, and it seems like everybody has a dog or they have a cat, but if you got a dog, then they want a fence so they can let the dog out and he can run around. And then also with little kids, it's nice to have the fence in a way, just because then they aren't running all over. So you're going to see more and more places have fences, and you can definitely put a fence up. We have a great contact for that. You just reach out and I can give you a great fence person that should come and give you a quote. Definitely, no matter who you use, you should get a quote from this place first. And that's 13. Number 14 on the list is sales tax in Tennessee. And that is it's pretty high. It's 9.25% for the sales tax. So know that you're going to be paying more on your sales tax than you would in other states, definitely. And it's just something you're going to get used to, and it doesn't really bother me. I guess I don't really feel like it's super hurtful for the tax. If it almost makes it nice if it was 10%, then it's really easy to do tax on what you're purchasing. However, the sales tax is high in Nashville and in Tennessee in general. You just need to know that, and I want to make sure you knew what it was. Number 15 on the list, and that's that there's no state income tax in Tennessee. And that's why sales tax on number 14 is so high, because there's no state income tax. So that can be a big pro for you or a big negative for you. Just know that you don't have state income tax. So if you're thinking about making that move here to Nashville, I would love to talk to you. Please give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. You got my number that's up here on the screen to write that down and reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about the different areas and where you're thinking about moving. And until next time,